Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Traffic Jam, brought to you by the Traffic Club of Chicago. I'm Michael Westergren, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Matt Silver. Matt got his start in transportation logistics at the age of 19, working for Coyote Logistics, his family business. He spent over a decade there and launched their Mexico business. He left Coyote in 2018 and started a company called Forager Group later that year. He ended up selling Forager to a company called Arrive Logistics in January of 2022, where he led their Mexico business unit until he left in September of 2023. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us, how'd you get started? How'd you get your career started in transportation and logistics?
So I've grown up around logistics. I was a little kid running around at American Backhaulers when my dad was building that business out with Paul Loeb, and I actually had no idea what my dad did. I knew it was something with trucks, and I knew there was a lot of energy in that office, but that was all I knew about it. And it wasn't until I was 19 that I started working at Coyote as an intern, tracking loads for a summer, when I actually started to understand the industry and understand, what freight was. And so I started back in 2007 as an intern and had a brief stop where I focused on a film career and went to film school and tried to move to LA when I was 21. Tried to make it in the film industry. Ultimately, I did not make it in the film industry and ended up staying at Coyote, moving down to San Diego when I was 21 or 22 at that point. And I stayed in San Diego for 3 years and then came back to Chicago. And it's 2024 now, and I'm still in freight. That was in 2010 when I moved from LA back down to San Diego. So,
All right, 14 years. And what keeps you excited every day about doing this type of work?
I'm excited about the fact that I think I've got a deep understanding of a lot of the problems that people have in freight, and it's I've operated a lot of freight, I've booked freight, I've done a lot of different jobs at a freight brokerage. I've even sent invoices when we were building Forager early on. I had to send customer invoices out and chase them down. But ultimately, I feel like I've got a good understanding for what the problems are that exist, and a good vision or a good eye for what needs to be built from a technology perspective. And so that's what gets me so excited, is the fact that I get to work on, my own new startup. I get to build software. I get to see the feedback that we have from early potential users as we show them some of the designs, and it enables, we get validation pretty quickly that people are excited about what we're building.
So, what are you building? What is this new business you're building, and how is it going to add value to the supply chain?
So I'm building Cargado with my co-founder Rylan. Both my co-founder and the three engineers that started with us, they were all at Convoy before, and so they got a lot of experience in the freight industry, but also building technology. And while I'm not going to dive too deep into the exact product that we're building today, we are working to build tools that will help solve problems for everybody involved in cross-border freight. So that includes brokers, it includes carriers, includes facilities in Mexico at the border and in the US. It includes customs brokers. And our goal is to connect everybody ultimately and connect all the different parties at the border. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of different components that need to get built out. And so the first piece that we're building will be for carriers, and I'm actually heading down to Laredo, or by the time this comes out, I'll have already gone to Laredo to help onboard carriers with the first part of the product. And so excited to be able to have an impact from that perspective this time around, knowing that we're building we're building software to help everybody. There shouldn't be anybody that has a problem with what's coming out.
Good, glad to hear. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see it come out either. So, 14 years in the industry, you're kicking around in your dad's office for some time before that. What is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced in your career in transportation logistics, and what'd you learn from it?
So this has a double-edged sword of being a silver, but obviously working at Coyote, working for our dad, you've got a lot of people that immediately assume that there's some level of nepotism, and people think that you only have your job because of who your dad is. or I've even had people say, hey, the only reason why you were able to get promoted at Coyote or do the Mexico stuff or start Forager is because your dad. He didn't invest in Forager. I got paid less than most other people did when I first started off in San Diego on a salary. And we had to earn everything. Same thing with my brother Andrew. And uh, if you asked anybody that actually knew us and knew our dad well within Coyote, they would have told you the same thing, that was really the opposite of nepotism, and we were pushed even harder. And so that was one area, but it also, it hasn't been without its benefits either. We've had people, I've been able to get doors open with customers a lot easier because being a silver is kind of an advantage, but I definitely have had to earn, everything that we've done so far.
Yeah, I bet your dad probably set some pretty high expectations for you and Andrew, huh?
When I first started working well, not when I first started at Coyote. So I was in LA for a year trying to make it in the film industry. And
Yeah.
after being there, I didn't make it in the film industry. My dad called and said, you can come down, you can move down to San Diego and work at Coyote. You can come back to Chicago, work there, or get a job in LA, but I'm not going to pay for you to live in LA, free anymore. And when I decided to work at Coyote, he said, I just need you to understand that you have the same last name as me. And so you need to put in 125% when everybody else is putting in 100%. And so I took that seriously. And that's, I was in earlier than most other people were. I was staying later than most people did. Like I understood that we had that level of pressure that we had to achieve. And so yeah, we focused on, or at least I did, and I know Andrew worked just as hard on proving that, we belonged there.
So that is a pretty big challenge, I imagine. Let's do a 180. What is one of your biggest accomplishments you've experienced in your career?
Definitely building Forager. It wasn't a perfect outcome by any means, but and it had a lot of, bumps and bruises along the way, but it was also a great, experience. I had a lot of fun building the business, working with the people that we worked with to build it out. And it ultimately, it helped me go to the next phase and get, be part of Arrive for almost 2 years, get to the point where I'm building Cargado now. And my experience having built Forager is what made it a little bit easier to raise money this time around. And so, definitely building Forager is one of those. And then uh, getting married and having a child would be the other big thing, or two other big things.
Kind of big, yeah, absolutely. So Forager was definitely a good accomplishment, right? Because everybody's seen it in the news and the purchase, and now you've departed and started your own company to, some would say, do it all over again, but this is a unique company you're starting, Cargado, right? So let's how much can you tell us about Cargado? I mean, I know it's limited and you're being a little bit secretive, and it's got to do with Mexico transporter and linking everyone together. So it's going to be a technology platform?
Yeah, we're building software. There's already part of it built. Like I was sending out invites earlier today to some of the carriers to start playing around in it, doing what they needed to do, update some things. Um, we've gotten phenomenal feedback from everybody that we've shown the designs to, and it's given me a lot of excitement along with the whole team about what we're building. Um, think about all the different parts of a cross-border shipment, and you've got so many different components to it that there's on average 7 or 8 unique parties involved in a cross-border shipment. And so we want to try to bring all that online. I think it's very archaic, and there's a massive push towards growth in Mexico with nearshoring, and the USMCA is a positive update to NAFTA, that a lot of freight brokerages are going to start to expand into Mexico. A lot of trucking companies will hopefully start to expand, and we're seeing a lot of manufacturers move to Mexico or set up more manufacturing in Mexico as this whole rush happens. And so I think there's going to be a need for all sorts of workflow tools and abilities for people to be able to do their jobs more efficiently than what they've got, today, that they've got access to.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to in the future other than Cargado?
I mean, this is my main focus right now. I'm excited about the industry as a whole moving towards, more technology adoption. I'm a big believer that freight brokerages aren't going away. I don't think that some software companies are going to come out and disrupt the freight industry and put brokerages out of business. I think that they're always going to be needed, but I think that there's going to be more technology that gets built to support them and help them do their jobs better and help them, automate certain workflows or connect with certain parties. We see it with Project 44, we see it with Parade. There's tons of companies out there that are starting to build tools to enable the supply chain logistics companies versus trying to replace them. And so what I'm excited about is this this next wave of technology companies that are coming out in the industry to help move the industry forward rather than trying to just replace people.
Right. So before we conclude, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share?
That would be a big one for me is the innovation that's finally coming into the industry. And I know, the industry, everybody's going through this kind of reset that I've written about a little bit. And there's businesses that are laying a lot of people off. And I hope that some of the people that come out of that, I know it's not easy to go start a company and you have to have some money of your own in addition to raising it. But I hope that there are people that are leaving jobs that maybe they weren't in love with, but they might have been in love with the problem that they were solving enough that they can go build something to help solve it in a different way or help the legacy providers solve it more efficiently than the way that they're doing it today. Because one of the things that I learned from Forager is that you can either be a service provider or a tech company. You cannot be both at the same time. Something my dad told me a little bit too late in the process of building Forager, but said you can either build the freight brokerage business or build the other thing that you wanted to build. And so you can't build both at the same time. And I think that applies across the industry. And yes, people build their own technology, but long term it'll be, there will be lots of TMS providers out there like Mastery and Alvis and Ascend TMS. And then there's going to be a wide range of matching platforms and everything else that comes with it. And so I think, the industry is moving in the right direction.
Cool. And if any of our listeners want to get a hold of you, how should they go about doing that?
LinkedIn, Twitter or X, or my Substack, which you can find me posting about nonstop on LinkedIn.
Sounds good. So I appreciate you being on the show today, and we'll let you know when you get this published. Thank you so much, Matt Silver.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about the Traffic Club, please visit our website at www.traffic-club.org. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Traffic Jam.